are going to be watching Pawn Stars is the fakest show on TV. Here's the evidence. I'll be honest, I used to watch a lot of Pawn Stars, but I'm not sure if it's real or not, so let's bring in an expert.
Pawn Stars is the fakest reality show in history.
He hasn't seen 90 Day. Absolute slop now.
Yet somehow they tricked millions of Americans into watching 700 episodes over the past 15 years.
700 episodes? Dude, they have to be like cranking out pieces. Like, I don't even have 700 things in my house.
Fake customers, fake conversations, a fake store, fake items, shady experts with suspicious backgrounds to verify the value of those items, even the image of the Harrisons being a humble, hard-working blue.
Wait, their name is Harrison and he's bald? I didn't know that. But I love bald people, by the way. All my mods are bald.
Collar family is mostly fake. The TV show was essentially an extremely calculated and systematic distraction to prevent the sellers from realizing they were being borderline scammed.
Dude, that's what I always wondered. Like, they could tell the expert, like, hey, come on in and say that it's worth $1. And then whenever I want to pay them out, like, they'll just give me, like, a super low ball. I just assumed that they had some shenanigans going on, but there were some experts that I felt were trustworthy, like the guy who always talked about the toys. I always thought he was kind of chill.
And in this video, we are going to expose it step by step. However, this system was built out of desperation because the cast we now know today was actually so unlikable in real life that nobody initially wanted to work with them.
Well, go be kick streamers. There's a lot of unlikable people there. You'll fit in.
The show's producer, Brent Montgomery, recalls the first time meeting them. I walked out of the pawn shop and I said, I never want to go there again. These guys smoked. They were saying the same jokes over and over. I was actually the
Okay, well, there's nothing wrong with that. Just to defend myself, the reason I say the same joke over and over is just because, like, I don't know who's new, okay? And if a joke is good, I gotta let them know too. And I don't care if I'm a -2 farmer. I thought it was funny.
Fourth producer to work with them, and so I certainly didn't think that was going to be a hit show. Additionally, pawn shops are not exactly a secret gold mine of treasure and rare artifacts.
Maybe like back in the day it was, but then when people learn like the tech and the strat, like they'll just go and buy stuff and scalp it and then sell it on eBay. That's why garage sales are probably the only place that you could maybe find a deal, but you gotta wake up at like 4 in the morning, and then you gotta go out in the cold, and you gotta hope that you find something, or it was just a huge waste of time. But that could be fun.
Most shops mainly make their money through loans given to extremely desperate people. Sellers will offer the pawn shop their lawnmowers, blenders, TVs, firearms, anything with a little bit of value. Then the shop gives them 25 to 60% of the item's resale value in cash, and the seller only has 30 or 60 days to buy the item back with interest.
Wait, that's what pawning means? I actually had no idea what the hell people were doing there. I just know I was scared to go inside because I thought I was gonna get shot.
The average pawn shop loan value is $75 to $100, meaning these people are likely next to broke, struggling to keep a roof over their head, or withdrawing from hard drugs. Rick Harrison, the main character and owner of Gold and Silver Pawn in Las Vegas, said, I think it's 20% of the adult population in the United States that does not have a bank account. And
wait, that's real? Dude, I have the same bank account from when I was a kid. I'm so happy my parents helped me set that up because I had no idea how to do that.
most of them can't get one. They don't have credit cards. They don't have anything like that for when some small emergency pops up.
Dude, I am so screwed because I have never had a credit card in my life. I have never, ever bought a credit card, not even for gas. And my credit is so bad that when I went to go and get like some money moved around for the new tracking that I'm getting, the lady was like, let's check your credit. She opened it on my app and went, oh, it's not good.
A lot of people don't realize that up until the 1950s, pawn shops were the #1 form of customer credit in the United States. So it's safe to say a show about struggling Americans giving away their possessions for $100 out of desperation isn't exactly the most entertaining idea, which is why their pilot episode was shot down by every major network.
Oh.
No. No.
No.
I can do 120. It's the best I can do.
So sassy.
I'll pawn it for that.
One time, a guy bought a bunch of stuff at Walmart on his credit card. He brought it in here. His grandmother was in the hospital, and she didn't have insurance.
Aww.
I pawned him for him. And then he went out and he stayed up all night. He won $50,000 and came back. Got the TVs back, took them back to Walmart.
So the lesson there was gamble? Holy crap, what am I doing being a streamer?
If the pawn shop employees were unlikable and the day-to-day business of pawn shops is low-key depressing, the show is dead in the water, right? Well,
dude, don't they also have that other pawns? I think someone in chat said, I think it's called Hardcore Pawn. That's like the super drama version of this, where like people be like fighting, grabbing each other's hair, doing like WWE moves, straight up choking each other out. Hardcore Pawn is crazy.
well, Rick Harrison was not willing to give up on the idea of him getting his own TV show.
You know, I have a pawn shop on the strip. You know what I mean? Like, I was always like a media, because that was like free advertising. So I'd always like, I'd put my like, you know, it was the only 24-hour pawn shop on the strip in Las Vegas. And so I mean, so before you know it, I'm getting Super Bowl rings, things like that. So
Wow.
I used to put I put like my Super Bowl rings.
Wait, so why do people get rid of Super Bowl rings? Like, are they just not that cool? I don't know. I feel like I would never get rid of that, or like a trophy or something.
On this on eBay like a week before the Super Bowl. Like, so then like a bunch.
Oh, there's different kinds. Oh, okay. So did they like give the Super Bowl rings to maybe like people who also like work on like the crew, or like they work behind the scenes, or they're like personal, like the training people who like help people out, like staff? Okay, that makes sense then. Because I was like, why does someone who gets paid like 150 million a year need to like pawn a ring?
You know, a bunch of reporters, you know, radio stations and things like that would call me. And it was always free press. And it was always good for business. So like 20 years ago, I'm thinking like, hey, if I get one of these reality shows, get a season or two, you know, it might be good for business.
Ironically, the way Rick and Brent got their reality show was by completely distorting the reality of the pawn shop.
I mean, everybody be doing that. I don't know the last time I watched TV that was real. What is the most realist show you've seen on TV? I watched HBO Neighbors, and that felt a little fake.
Basically, they sold a lie, and the History Channel bought it. In 2009, the History Channel was looking for something different to boost its ratings, which got Rick and Left Field Productions a second chance to share their idea.
How come every picture of him, he looks different? Like, this one was like crazy beauty filter. But to be honest, where I paused it looks like my glasses are smudged.
But to work with the History Channel, Rick agreed that the show had to be much more family-friendly than the original concept. It started with the characters, focusing on 3 generations of the Harrisons. Rick Harrison would sit at the center of the operation, often being referred to as the genius.
Oh, me too. People say that about me all the time. They go, BerryCrepe, yeah, she's the genius. Like, I watch her for some introspective commentary.
He would be tasked with spotting fakes, explaining the history behind the items, and keeping the family in line.
Back in the day, the Mint was always coming up with new designs. They actually tried to get a nickel into circulation where there was a nickel, but it had a hole in the center. So,
well, to be fair, out of everybody I see on the show, at least he tries to be entertaining, or like he'll like drop a fun fact like every once in a while. But some of the other people, like his sons, when they come on, you can tell they do not want to be there. And they just like are not entertaining, and they just want to get their check and go home and go play Call of Duty.
we called it the Holy Nickel.
Rick's father, Richard Harrison, would take the name The Old Man. His role would be the no-nonsense patriarch of the gold and silver pawn shop. He comes in with stories about what the business was like back in the day and constantly reminds the guys that he is the actual boss.
Yeah. Start spanking him. If you're bad, the boss is gonna come and give you a nice little slap on the tush. Oh, okay, please cut that.
Car into a lowrider.
It's his car. He can do whatever he wants with it.
Well, it shouldn't have been his car. It was my car. I'm so damn pissed I don't even want to talk to you.
To appeal to a younger demographic, Rick's son Corey, or Big Hoss, would work alongside his dad, learning everything he can about the business, only to constantly mess things up and make bad deals.
You test drive it?
No.
What do you mean, no?
No, I didn't test drive it.
AAA games be like.
It's a Chris craft. The thing's worth like 30 grand.
He doesn't spend that kind of money until he asks me first.
They also decided to include Corey's childhood friend, Austin Russell, or...
Oh, that's his friend? Dude, that's why I said sons earlier, because I thought he was also his son. My bad.
Chum Lee, who was essentially the comedic punching bag of the show.
Find me some good deals on that stuff then.
What kind of percentage am I gonna get?
Your salary.
I got no problem taking my salary as long as it walks through the doors, but if I'm putting in extra work...
Extra work? You don't work to start with.
But
Why do you have to slam him like that? He's trying his hardest, man. Be encouraging.
it wasn't the characters that made the show successful. Even the producers knew that. I think people love stuff. The items are the stars. Don't tell the stars that.
No, I agree. Like, I don't care what these old people gotta say, and this is coming from an old person. Like, I just want to see, like, what the objects are, how much they're valued at, and then, like, just seeing what comes through the door. Like, I really don't care who's yapping and who's paying for whatever.
People really remember when you bring in a Coke machine from the 60s and what it felt like to go to a Coke machine, and the great stories behind the stuff that you don't hear on other shows.
Yeah.
On the show, people brought in gas masks for babies from 1938, ancient swords like katanas, or...
Okay, that is like a World of Warcraft sword. What is that? Okay, can somebody explain to me why they make them wavy? Like, what does that do? Is that like if you stab somebody, then you like rip it out and then it's like more damage? Like, why do they make it wavy? Cutting geometry, more damage? Okay, to look cool. Okay, well that also makes sense.
or Chris swords from the 14th century, helicopters, and ancient firearms used by naval officers and pirates. And despite literal treasure coming through the doors now that the cameras were rolling, the guys initially were so stuck in their ways that they refused to buy anything. Brent Montgomery told students at the University of Texas...
Dude, they would never buy stuff after a while. They would. I felt like what they were doing is somebody would have like a really cool item. I assume before they like even sell it, like they talk behind the scenes and they tell the producers, I will take this or I am not taking anything and I am going to leave. And then they decide if it's even gonna sell. Then they go out, then they put the item down, then they like fake like debate with each other even though they already know it's not gonna sell, just to show off like a cool item for TV. That was always what I thought was fake about the show.
That this was one of the biggest hurdles. If you ever met those guys, I couldn't convince them to pay more for anything, but I did tell them initially to try and buy the stuff even if they didn't want it. If we had a show where they never bought anything, it wouldn't work well.
True.
This is likely what led to Rick's infamous lowball offers.
What were you looking to get out of it?
$7 grand?
Ooh, 7 grand's not gonna happen.
How about 3,500?
3 grand.
One time, Rick lowballed someone so bad, even his son Corey called him out. It started when a seller brought in a pair of 18th century onyx diamond spectacles.
Cool.
There's enough stones and precious metals in them to make them worth a lot of money.
The customer said he wanted $5,000 for the pair, but when Rick stepped in, he offered way less.
Generally, jewelry from this time period to this quality is worth a lot of money.
If it's got like diamonds and metals in it, like 5K is pretty acceptable, I would think. And then maybe there's like some fashion Andy who wants to wear it to Coachella.
But technically, this isn't jewelry.
So what do you think they're worth?
$700 or $800.
Seriously?
$700? What the hell? Oh, hell no. At that point, if he offered that, I'd just like go over my knee. Yeah, nothing. How about nothing?
Yeah.
The seller then adjusted his price per Rick's recommendation from $5,000 to $850, and even Corey knew they borderline ripped this guy off.
Wait, they did
I feel
it?
a lot better about these now that my dad looked him over, but I think he might have lowballed a little bit.
Yeah, I think so.
It's because of deals like this that Rick became a massive meme online.
I have
all 6 Infinity Stones. Best I can do is $20.
However, it was clear that Pawn Stars had found gold. Their season 2 premiere drew 7 million total viewers.
Damn! Am I one of these old people who just like seeing stuff on TV get sold? Oh my God!
Which drove the History Channel to become the #1 cable network for the night in total viewers, making it the...
Holy crap. Dude, I have to be old because I like watching Pawn Stars, and I knew the day that I was in hag territory was when I actually started to like watching HGTV. I'm like, oh, you know what? That kitchen does look nice. Yeah, you know, they should change the paint on the walls.
The highest rated telecast in the network's history, but ratings like this weren't the result of dumb luck. They came from a calculated design, and once you look past the dumb jokes, the humble family business facade, you start to see something else. A very controlled, very repeatable formula designed to scam, get the best deals possible from the sellers. So let's break it down. It all starts with the manufactured image of the cast, which is the Harrison family. The producers have been very open about the fact that they cast blue-collar looking people to trick honest blue-collar people into thinking these reality stars are one of them.
Oh, so they're like super rich? Like, what do they wear outside of the pawn shop? I don't think I've ever seen that, like just straight up Gucci.
I always say we're looking for really smart people who look really blue-collar. Those are the casts that we've had success with. It's like when they put the average-looking guy with the really hot chick in the beer commercials.
That's why I'm in all the beer commercials. Yeah, I do Pilates, yeah.
So you want to buy the beer so you can be as lucky as that guy. That's who we're looking to cast in our reality shows. So now that Rick and his family look like the people their target audience can trust, now it's time to control the environment and...
No, I'm not the average looking guy. That's not me. I'm the girl in the bikini.
which the transactions take place. What you see on screen is not the actual pawn shop, it's a TV set. By 2012, gold and silver pawn...
Naruto! Dude, isn't that crazy? Like, this is gonna sound absolutely insane, wacko, but like, I remember when I was a kid, I never saw anime stuff, I never saw Pokemon stuff, and I would have been shocked if it was at the movies like it is nowadays. Like, seeing this is crazy to me. Like, the only place I could ever find anime stuff is if I bought it online and got it, like, shipped in, or if I went to an anime convention where there was, like, 100 other weirdos like me, and that was it.
Had transformed from a small-time pawn shop into a full-on tourist trap. The general manager revealed that about 1 in 100 visitors to the Las Vegas pawn shop are actually there to sell an item. Otherwise, the staff typically shuffles tourist visitors out of the showroom.
This has to happen with other stuff too, like, what's that guy's name? The Cake Boss? I don't really like him. I don't know. He's just not likable to me, but I think it would be actual hell to run that business now. Like, everybody's just in there all the time trying to take pictures, and like, they're not even buying cakes half the time. Like, I just assume it sucks to be that guy. Yeah, buddy.
When it's time to film. In response to Nevada's privacy laws and the increased traffic, the Harrisons couldn't continue to rely on their original shop. Instead, they worked with producers to make a separate showroom that was inaccessible to the general public. We got an inside look at this controlled environment when a seller secretly recorded his experience with a camera watch.
Glasses!
Andrew Wilson uploaded a YouTube video detailing the process of him attempting to sell his vintage 1985 Rambo metal lunchbox. As he walked around, you can see the trusses above the fake shop with all the studio lights to ensure a perfectly lit set. From there,
I'm gonna be honest, this isn't like that. I wouldn't think this is that bad. Like, obviously they're gonna have a way to film without a bunch of people coming up and being annoying all the time. I don't know. I just assumed this would happen. To me, this isn't that crazy.
There, he went to an office in the backstage area where he met with a field producer who laid down some ground rules before they walked on set.
Okay, so this is when the lady comes in, sits you down, and says how things are gonna go, what you can and can't do, and
you cannot show your butt, you cannot fart, you cannot puke, you cannot talk about anything that you're interested in, no copyright. Take that Nike shirt, flip it inside out, and make sure that you wear your most handsome glasses.
The biggest thing she says was you can't reference the show, you can't talk about that you're on a show.
Hi, Mom! I'm on Pawn Stars! This could have went an entirely different way with a couple of letters interchanged.
It's basically you're supposed to act like it's totally normal and you're not on a show.
Andrew and his father openly admitted that the only reason they wanted to sell the lunchbox was so they could be on the show. But the field producers said that they can't do that, which meant they had to lie for television.
Would they actually say, hey, this is my dad's, and would they say, does he know you're selling it? Would they say something like that?
I mean, I don't know. I think you'd say, why are you selling it? Like, why are you selling it?
Nah.
Nah.
I know you can't reference the show.
When he finally walked on
Why are you selling it? I spent all my money on Warhammer, and this is my last choice.
to the showroom floor, Andrew noticed that all the customers were just extras, pretending to be paying customers.
Oh, I didn't think about the extras. Dude, I should go be an extra on Pawn Stars and like go over. I dropped this.
Looking at all the items in the background, and listening to him interact with Corey and Chum Lee is way different than what you see in the final product.
Take that. Yep, that's what they said.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, how you doing? How you doing?
Yeah.
I have a Rambo lunchbox, original from 1985.
Rambo, that's awesome.
The matching thermos.
Ooh,
Here, I'll show it
the
to you.
set.
It reminds me of myself. Just a real badass.
Yeah, same here.
So where in the world did you get this?
From my dad.
Do you mind to go pull this out?
This makes me realize I am so bad at this. Like, I would be able to be like,
Oh, yeah, go ahead. He gave it to me. He was a huge Rambo fan, huge Sylvester Stallone fan. He bought it back in '85, and he's had it ever since, and he gave it to me.
Okay. Definitely a sign of the times, man. I can't imagine sending my kid to school today with a lunchbox of a...
He pauses so much. He should be a reaction VTuber.
Vietnam vet who had severe PTSD and, killed a couple cops and basically took a town hostage.
The awkward silence and bad jokes makes you realize just how much editing goes into this show. You can even hear the producers giving notes to Corey on what he should talk about.
The notes are like, could you be more funny?
Yeah, I mean, back then too.
It looks like nobody wants to be here. Like, this is so awkward.
Lunchboxes were kind of like your expression of who you were as a kid.
The awkwardness and the stiffness of the interactions is almost completely gone once you see the final edit.
At one point, Steve McQueen was going to play Rambo, Paul Newman was going to play Rambo, and then out of nowhere, Stallone writes, directs, pays for, and produces Rocky.
Yeah, all the stuff they're saying, like Corey and Chumley are acting like, yeah, they did this, and it's like, you don't actually know these things.
I always thought they would just like read like a Wikipedia article and then like do like a voiceover afterwards.
Looked this up 5 minutes before we came
True.
out here. It's supposed to look like I just...
I would never do that. Like, I mean, I've always been a fan of bees. Like, did you know that the average beehive colony contains between 20,000 and 60,000 bees?
walk in and it's natural and everything. And for those of you who don't already know, it's not like that. This is done in multiple takes, and they tell you specifically what you can and can't do.
And in case you needed any more proof of how contrived these interactions really are, the producer, Brent Montgomery, admitted that the guys are not exactly the experts in history they are portrayed to be, saying, "We found really smart scripters to feed the characters organic information.
No GMOs.
Now, in this particular instance, Andrew just wanted to be on the show. He didn't really care about making a deal, but that's not the case for most sellers, nor is it for the Harrisons. After all, they do actually have a real pawn shop with full intentions to buy and sell items for a profit, which is why the next phase
Making it rain. The boys' promotional image.
of their system is a calculated scheme to make sure that they get the best deal possible. Now, about half the time, Rick, Corey, Chumlee, or the old man will pretend like they have extensive knowledge on whatever item is brought in front of them.
Dude, I always assumed this part was fake, but I do like the fun facts. That's just because I like to learn and level up my int. Then I can cast an even bigger fireball later. Watch out.
99.9% sure it's real, I still have that chance that it's not.
The seller puts the item on the counter, and one of the guys will go into a history lesson giving all the relevant details as to why the item is interesting or valuable.
No, they do that so they can stay on the History Channel. Let's be honest.
However, the other half of the time, they will play dumb and admit that they know nothing about the item that is trying to be sold. But lucky for them, 100% of the time, they have a buddy who specializes in the exact thing that they need more information on.
I got a buddy who works right down the street. I got a buddy who deals in all these antiques. I got a buddy who works right down the street. He's got a sports shop. I got a buddy of mine.
Me, when I talk to somebody for one time on Discord, they're instantly my buddy forever. I'm so parasocial.
Call him in a lot when I deal with expensive sports stuff.
I got a buddy that's pretty good with stuff like this. Let me have him come down and kind of give me an idea of what they're worth.
Let me call somebody.
I got a buddy. He looks a little bit like a bubble. But he's a great guy.
He will know everything about this. I got a buddy who all he does is like Hollywood memorabilia.
I got a buddy that works literally right across the street.
And this is the perfect trap. From the seller's perspective, that expert feels neutral. He looks authoritative. He explains the item's history, verifies if it's real, maybe even compliments it. But when they
I can tell when a buddy is like vicious and when a buddy actually cares about the craft. If the guy comes up, there's two guys that I feel like are actually trustworthy buddies. The toy guy, he talks about retro toys. He looks regular. He's not a performative buddy. And the guy who looks a little old and wears a hat. I forget what his like specialty is, but he always came off as like a sincere buddy to me.
They give the appraisal, they typically say something like, at auction, this might go for, followed by almost always a price that is far less than what the seller wanted. And now that the expert established the price, the seller now looks crazy for asking anything equal to or more than what they said. But even if the sellers remain firm in their initial asking price, Rick and the gang start talking about the risk, the overhead, paying employees, storage, the fact that it might sit on a shelf for months. Now the seller isn't negotiating based on what they think their item is worth, but rather they're negotiating based off if the buyer can make a profit or not.
I have to make money on this thing. I might get $4
That does suck. And most of the time, I would think that people who actually want like specialized items aren't even going to a pawn shop. They're just going on eBay.
grand out of it, but that's not an auction. There's auction fees. It'll take me a year to get my money. I got to spend money to ship it across the country somewhere.
Putting that already as well.
Yeah, it's $2,100.
And this system, 80 to 90% of the time, leads to the pawn shop getting the seller to sell something to them for far less than what they originally thought it was worth.
I would just keep it and put it on eBay, honestly. Like, if I'm getting lowballed, like, F you! I got the internet! Ugh.
But in reality, these buddies aren't some objective third party walking in off the street, but rather someone coordinated by production who understands the show and who could get more opportunities to be on television if they excel at their job. Take Bob Uhas, for example, who is the expert they call on when they need to restore an automobile, antique toys, and vintage machines.
This is collectible because it's very rare. Done correctly, done nice, starting at $5,000 and
I like the restoration stuff that they do because I think it's just cool from an artistic perspective to see how they can bring it back to life.
up.
And like this,
you should be happy if you walked home with it for $800.
Not only is Bob an expert when it comes to bringing discarded items back to life, but
I just said that!
he is also somewhat of an actor who was in a couple episodes of American Restoration and Mystery Diners, a hidden camera show.
Oh, Mystery Diners, dude! I love this show. It is so fake and so fun to watch. We actually did react to it on stream, but it got copyright strike, so I had to take it down.
To gather evidence of theft or poor customer service at restaurants. So he's not exactly a neutral third party. You can actually argue he is incentivized to give the Pawn Stars guys exactly what they want instead of maximizing the seller's potential payout. Especially considering that in the clip I played before, the seller got $850 and Bob got paid $2,600 to restore the go-kart. It just seems likely that if Bob does exactly what the producers want, he could get more screen time, which means more business for him.
Yeah, I'd pay $3 for that. But if you want me to restore it, that's going to be $3,000. Sorry.
Private businesses owned by these experts or buddies.
I just looked him up. Mark Hall Patton, the old guy in the hat you mentioned, is a legit local historian. He is the museum administrator for the Clark County History Museum. See? Thank you for looking that up. He has a beautiful soul, and he's honest. I could tell. He just seems very trustworthy.
Benefit from the show.
And before you guys tell me that he murdered somebody, which is exactly what happened whenever I tried to learn how to do one dance on stream, and I was like, wow, this guy looks really trustworthy, and you told me that he murdered his cousin. What was his name? I think it was the Whippin' Nene or something. That was wild. I am a very poor judge of character. I was silento.
So much, you'd almost assume that they have some sort of contract. And one of Rick's buddies may have accidentally leaked information we were never supposed to know. Sean Rich was one of the most well-known experts, appearing in over 50 episodes of Pawn Stars since it debuted in 2009.
Damn.
Sean is a master antique gunsmith, and he's usually called in when the guys need antique guns, swords, or other armory appraised.
How do I get this job? This is just badass.
But when one fan noticed Sean disappeared and they had a few other gun experts on the show, they emailed him saying, "Why haven't we seen you on Pawn Stars recently? We miss you."
Uh-oh, here comes the Google Docky.
Sean replied with, "Unfortunately, to make a very long story short, the production company and History Channel wanted me to sign an exclusivity agreement to lock me down, control me, my business, future, my appearance, how I make a living to provide for my family, and expect me to do it for free or very little money without any negotiation, with no guarantee of being used." Now, of course, Sean could be leaving out very important context.
I believe him, honestly. I mean, he could be like a little vengeful and not telling the whole story, but that does sound very believable.
Could just straight up be a lie, or even a fan just making something up out of thin air wanting to.
Yeah, like, why would he quit, like, after being on 50 episodes? Like, there has to be something going on in the background.
To stir up drama. But the idea of the experts having a contract with the show makes sense considering how much the show changes the lives of the experts. Jeremy Brown was the buddy they called in for anything related to sports memorabilia. He relocated his store, Ultimate Sports Cards and Memorabilia, just 1 mile down the road from Gold and Silver Pawn due to how much business the show was bringing him. However, there are countless negative reviews.
They sell fake card packs, was over for some fun. Okay, that sounded like he was on Pawn Stars. Was over for some fun and bought some Pokemon packs on a whim. The cards were fake and even the packaging was bad. Disgusting! F that guy then. F him!
Accusing Jeremy of selling fake cards, charging $50.
The workers were no help and not nice and just sat behind a counter and talked the whole time. Was he here or was he at Wingstop? Because that's how they treat me at Wingstop. Every card in there is at least $50 to $100 over comps, and they do not negotiate. Probably never going there again due to the reasons listed. Wow.
To $100 more than the market rate, or extremely low.
If I could give 0 stars, I would. The owner offered me $125 for at least $350 worth of cards. He was very selective on what cards he was interested in and wouldn't go over comps with me. Dude, this is crazy. Maybe he's just like an ego Andy because he was on TV.
Lowballing sellers. Wonder where he got that strategy from. Jesse Amoroso, owner of Cowtown Guitars, is the expert they would call in regarding vintage guitars. He also relocated his store to just 1 mile away from Gold and Silver Pawn.
Is this in the agreement with the producers?
Fortunately, he was also probably the wrong guy to platform. Cowtown Guitars permanently closed its business operations after drowning in negative reviews, with multiple people calling Jesse a thief, refusing reasonable refunds, and providing horrible customer service.
Dude, what is up with the customer service? This is in Vegas? Is everybody in Vegas angry?
Even their professional sports authenticator, Steve Grad, who was in charge of authenticating all autographs on sports memorabilia on Pawn Stars, got sued for approving numerous forgeries as legitimate. He then admitted in open court that he has never had any education or training from PSA with regard to how to authenticate signatures.
This is real. How do you know? Because I said so.
He basically said in court that he learned everything he knows about this business from a buddy. Now, I'm not suggesting.
Oh, he's got a buddy too. Okay. Everybody's using the buddy system.
Suggesting that all of the Pawn Stars experts are fraudsters. I'm not suggesting what they are doing is illegal or even deceiving, but it is highly controlled so that the house always wins.
Yeah,
and some
Vegas,
sellers
baby.
suspect this and straight up admit that they don't believe the experts.
Dude, it's like nowadays, if you're gonna run a business and like sell things, you have to be honest because anybody can look up any price on their phone now. Like maybe back in the day, you could get away with scamming a little easier because information was harder to come by. But like nowadays, you should not be lying.
If you wanted to buy this, I'd pay no more than $600 or $700. This one, if you want one of these, I can get you one for $1,500.
No, they're worth a lot more than that. If you think you can find these on the internet for $1,500, knock yourself out, because it's not going to happen.
I'd give you $1,000 for the coin.
Is this a real offer or?
That's a legitimate offer, yeah.
That's not a legitimate offer, but you're just using your position here, trying to buy something for below its market value.
1,000 maybe.
Wow, dude, I like that they fight back. I feel like that's fair. Like you kind of got to stand up for yourself.
That would be your crybaby whiny opinion. If I come back, it would be interesting to have the same appraisal guy. Sometimes I'd like to smack him, but that's just me.
But it took viewers years to pick up on this calculated system the Pawn Stars created to maximize their profits. The golden era of Pawn Stars is considered by most to be seasons 1 through 6. And
yeah, because they were not like selling out anymore. They were just kind of having fun, having stuff come in and then like appraising it and telling you a funny little silly fact.
a lot of that had to do with the fact that everything looked more small scale and authentic. There were a few big items, but they were almost always rejected by the Harrisons for being too pricey or impractical. The History Channel had successfully made the Pawn Stars look like good, honest, hardworking, humble American underdogs.
Dude, but then the History Channel just wants to scale it up. And then they want to like have something bigger and better so that way that they get more people watching and better ratings. So they just like constantly have to like add like a sprinkling of fakeness so that way people watch.
Rather than multi-millionaires who were ripping off honest people. And millions of their middle America fans cheered them on like they were rock stars.
We're basically here celebrating that Pawn Stars is going to Thursday night. We got Leonard Skinner playing in the parking lot of the pawn shop.
Yeah, and Pawn Stars, all of them. My video's copyright claimed right now.
But in
I'm
the
talking.
mid to late 2010s, even their fans stopped seeing them as a humble family business and more like ultra-calculated scammers. And once that illusion was broken, the personal lives of the Pawn Stars started to crumble. On June 25th, 2018, the old man passed away.
Wait, he's dead? Okay, I have to be honest with you. Fart Booty in chat earlier said that he was dead. But Fart Booty says that about everybody, so I thought he was lying. But this time he was telling the truth.
After a private battle with Parkinson's disease. His loss was a major blow to longtime fans of the show, and Rick Harrison worked with the History Channel to make a memorial episode to remember him by.
This pawn shop is more than just a place of business. There's a lot of memories here, and most of those memories are with my father. Got the privilege of working with my dad.
Dude, it is nice that they have like all the memories through TV though, and he can go back and like watch episodes if he misses his dad.
5 days a week for almost 40 years.
The loss of the old man was definitely the first major sign that the show was on its last legs. His dynamic with Chum Lee was one of the few scripted interactions worth watching. From here, Rick had mostly given his role of the genius historian over to the large collection of experts, and Corey had pretty much checked out entirely, as viewers no longer bought the storyline suggesting he wanted to be the next big boss.
That's what I was saying too. Like he lost his light. Like he just didn't care. Every time I saw him on the screen, he just wanted to go do something else.
Then again, even from the very beginning, he never looked like he even wanted to be there.
I probably told my dad I hate him more than I love him.
Oh my God! Wait, that is so sad!
It's just stupid.
Crap!
It's really stupid. What about the other really bad tattoos you have?
Oh! Everybody's fighting! This shit's a PvP zone!
The only chance I have, the only way I have to move up around here is one of them dies.
It's likely that the old man...
Wait, whoa! Hey, what did you mean by that?
or the money they were making from the show is the only reason the family stayed together, because on screen you probably would have thought that it was this wholesome small family, but in real life was an entirely different story. Rick Harrison detailed a lot of the reality behind the scenes in his book Licensed to Pawn. In one of the chapters, Rick revealed that both Corey and Chum Lee had battled meth addiction before.
Wait, this is real? Oh my god!
Or being hired full-time. It also explained why the two struggled with weight throughout the series, as they used fast food as a way to avoid getting high.
Eating In-N-Out every time he felt the urge to get high. Okay, I do like In-N-Out. Okay, but I'm not getting zooted every day. Okay, this is looking kind of bad now. I love In-N-Out, but I don't like the fries, but I do love animal style.
In fact, 2 years before the old man passed, Chumley was arrested in Las Vegas on felony weapon and drug charges.
Oh
he was taken into
my
custody
God.
when officers serving a search warrant in a assault investigation found methamphetamine, marijuana, and at least one unregistered gun at his southwest Las Vegas home. By
Wait, he had like every crime?
some miracle and an expensive lawyer, Chum agreed to 3 years probation to avoid jail
3 years probation? And he had every red inventory item? What the hell?
time and continued working on the show like nothing had ever happened. As for the Harrisons, life after the old man's death slowly turned into a nightmare in the press, especially in 2022. Although it had mostly been kept a secret, Rick had a long-standing feud with his mom.
He got sued by his mom? Oh my God, dude, this family stuff gets so messy.
Joanne Harrison, who slapped him with a lawsuit which states that when she and Rick's father, Richard Harrison, started the shop, she was given 51% of the ownership. After Rick
Eminem got sued by his mom too? What the hell? Dude, I don't know. I don't have kids, but I think if I was like a mom, I wouldn't sue my kids.
Richard died in 2018, his shares went to Joanne. In the early 2000s, Joanne was in the hospital and allegedly unknowingly signed away her shares to Rick after waking up from a coma.
Whoa, okay. What the hell? Nah. Why are we making her sign stuff after a debuff? This is crazy.
Additionally, she accused Rick of hiding details of her late husband's assets and failing to provide her with monthly allowances.
What?
To make matters worse, Joanne filed a temporary restraining order against Rick to prevent him from stopping the monthly payments to her and hiding any family assets.
Okay, I'm gonna need to bring in a buddy for this. His name's Saul Goodman.
The restraining order stated, while Rick enjoys his comfortable life as a celebrity firmly in control of all the family businesses and finances, Joanne is left frightened and unsure of if she will have enough resources to pay for her considerable medical and personal expenses each month.
Oh
and
my
this only appeared to
God.
be the start of the Harrisons family.
Dude, yeah, money is a curse. Like, look what happened. Like, the entire family fell apart as soon as somebody started making some dollar bills.
Troubles. That same year, Corey was suspected of driving under the influence after allegedly swerving all over the road in an alleged relapse.
I hate DUIs. I know this is like something I'm always blabbing about, but I hate it, man. Like, it's the most selfish, one of the most selfish crimes you can do. Like, you could just hurt so many people just by being like extremely selfish and not caring about everybody else on the road. I hate it. It's one of the most despicable crimes to me.
While he would manage to walk out of jail 8 hours later, Rick's son Adam Harrison wouldn't be so lucky. Now again, if someone just watched Pawn Stars, you'd have no idea that Rick's family is much larger than it appears. In reality,
There's
the
more?
man has been married
Is that his wife? Oh my God, he's been married 5 times? Holy crap! Nah.
5 different times, with the latest wife named Angie Palushkin in 2026. From those many wives, Rick has had 3 sons, Corey, Adam, and Jake. He also
There's
has
another
3
son?
stepdaughters, Serena, Sienna, and Marissa. And while Jake made some brief appearances on the show,
Wait, I think I have seen him a little bit. I think it's because I always thought he was like XQC's brother.
most people wouldn't know that every family member has either worked or visited the pawn shop countless times. Rick's son Adam was one of the family members that worked off and on at the pawn shop, but tragically, most fans only saw his face when his own drug habit took a turn for the worse. In 2024, Adam was found dead after an accidental overdose of fentanyl. It was evident that the family drama and trauma was stacking up to a point where they just couldn't do the show anymore.
Dude, how is the Okay, I didn't know any of this. Like, I am such a casual viewer. And, like, how does the History Channel hide all this? Like, I had no idea.
And in 2025, it was finally announced that the show was not going to be renewed on the History Channel for another season.
Wow.
However, recently they announced a return, but this time without Corey. He said, "At this stage of the game, we're all playing a character on Pawn Stars.
Yeah.
I can't play another season of 41-year-old me pretending to be 23.
Okay, that is wild. He basically just has to pretend he's 19 forever.
However, Rick and Chum Lee started a podcast at the Gold and Silver Pawn Shop, where Rick doesn't really seem like he wants to let go. And even though everyone now knows that Pawn Stars is one of the fakest shows on television, he still has a hard time admitting how staged it really was.
Okay, yes, I was making kind of a self-actualization joke there, but I am 19. Don't even.
I guess the answer to that question is it's not a set, but it is kind of a set up.
Yeah.
Mock of the pawn shop up front.
They probably hate each other now. Like, just being honest, like, they just don't even seem like they really want to talk or hang out or play Call of Duty Zombies or nothing.
The entire show is filmed here at the pawn shop.
15 years.
Like, can you imagine the only relationship you ever had with your family was always monetized? Like, that would suck.
Years of dominance on TV just for it all to come crashing down, destroying the legacy of the show forever, which is almost the exact same thing that happened to Impractical Joker.
Oh! Oh my God. When I got my wisdom teeth taken out, all I wanted to do when I was off of anesthesia was watch Impractical Jokers.
As they could not prevent their private controversies from making headlines. But check out this video if you want to hear that story.
Yeah, that went a little crazy. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. I super appreciate it. If you're new here, please come by the Twitch stream, twitch.tv/BerryCrepe, or use code Berry for 10% off your gamer subs order. It super helps me out. I would love to get a booba cup, and I appreciate you so much. Have a great evening. Goodbye, YouTube! Goodbye, goodbye, goodbye!